A2T FM. Tonight in Talk Time, we bring you an exclusive interview with Commander Kocheri C. Shibu, the author of Men and Dreams of Daulada. This interview was recorded during his visit to the Nilgiri Library. Talking to Commander Kocheri is Dr. Geeta Jayaraman.
It's a pleasure, Commander Kocheri, and especially so because you have yourself authored the book that is under discussion today, Men and Dreams in the Dauladar.
Thank you so much, Geeta.
So to begin, it would be very nice if you could say something about yourself for our audience.
Well, I come from a defense background, and let's say it starts off with the National Defense Academy. So I've passed out of the National Defense Academy in 1981. Then I have served in the Indian Navy. I have commanded 2 warships. So I was in uniform for 27 years before I decided to move on. And since the last 11 years, I'm working in the hydroelectric project and the energy sector. And this book, of course, has been written after I left the defense life and inspired from my experiences working in this hydroelectric field.
Also, you must have been a very active trekker during your army days, is that right?
Yes, very much. I have trekked extensively in this area because I have trekked from, let's say, the complete Leh Chushul sector, Leh, and all the outlying areas. Trekking was a passion of mine, and so it is in many ways was a blessing in disguise because I was doing something which is otherwise also a hobby of mine. So when you work in hydroelectric projects, you do get to trek 10-12 kilometers every day and to your heart's content. So that has always been a big plus.
And you've also had a connection with Nilgiris because you must have been in the Institute Defense.
Affirmative. Actually, I have been in the Defense Services Staff College, Wellington, from 97-98. So I have been here for 1 year, and myself and my wife Minnie, we had almost fallen in love with this place, and we thought of even becoming villagers of Wellington. Of course, Nilgiris grows on you. Anyone who has been here will fall in love with this place.
And have you always wanted to write during your years of active service, or is it something that came to you after your voluntary retirement?
No, writing has been there with me from quite some time, and it was towards this end that actually I had done a post-graduation in English literature from Pune University. As a career soldier, time comes at a premium. So many books I've seen, 10 pages, 20 pages, many a story started and slept. I could really take time out and do this only after I left the Navy, and whilst working on this project where I could take out the time that is required for this kind of an effort to write a book.
Could you tell the audience something about the books or any of the authors that have influenced you the most, with respect to your writing or your life or both?
With respect to my writing, I would say that I've taken a phenomenal amount of effort to see that it is very different and let's say what I would call my own style, and anyone who reads it should feel that it's a different style of writing, and so fair amount of effort has gone in that direction. Otherwise, I've been a voracious reader all through my life, and till 2009 when I started writing this book, one of the reasons that I felt that that when you want to write a book, and I did not want my readers to feel that you are reading an author who is similar to X or Y who has existed. So that, of course, that the words, the names, the style of writing, narration. So fair amount of effort has gone into creating a style which I believe is uniquely mine. That is one part. And I've not been reading fiction since 2009 when I started writing this book. The second part is, yes, I used to read a whole lot of authors before this, and many of them have influenced my thinking on English literature or on, let's say, writing in various times. And when it comes to Indian authors, of course, I would say R.K. Narayan as the first one. Let's say among the other authors, maybe some of the authors like from the African literature, like Walt Soyinka, or the regular authors of, let's say, Russian authors like Dostoevsky, or our own V.S. Naipaul. There are many whom I have liked, and of course the new generation writers from India, starting with our Arundhati Roy and let's say even the N.I. Wright, the Vikram Seth. So there are a number of writers, a large number of writers, both Indian and Western origin, whom I have liked, and at various stages depending on what I've been reading and how I've been reading.
So Men and Dreams in the Dauladar is the very first book of yours that has been published. It was published in 2015, am I right?
That's correct. It was print published in 2015. I did, let's say, publish an e-version in 2013, that is electronic version. One of the reasons was, of course, that when you wrote a novel which had a lot of research content, it was also an effort to protect, let's say, the IPR value of the book, which when you go into the effort to publish it, it has to go so many places in the electronic media. There was no way of protecting it other than to publish it.
So this book of yours covers a kaleidoscope of characters and locations. I mean, albeit it focuses on mainly on the hydroelectric project, which is in a small hamlet at the foothills of the Dhauladar. So, have there been any real-life events or any real-life experience that sort of helped you to shape or mold the storyline?
Of course, let me put it this, would give a perspective to it. To say that, of course, when I'm writing the first book, all my experience and all my reading and all my exposure to life have definitely, let's say, influenced in the way I presented things. But having said that, I will say that when you write a novel, it is not an essay on what has happened on various events that has happened, but it is about characters who have been influenced by the events that have been around us, and it is still happening. And unfortunately, the subcontinent has been going through and is still going through a time of turmoil, wherein the kind of events which are described in the novel are something which has happened through various stages at various places. So the novel in many ways is a reflection of, I would say, a slice of life as it exists in the modern India, with a mix of modernity at one end and the very, very rural at the other end.
So there are so many characters in this book that when I was reading the book, about at least the first half, I found myself going, back and forth to remind myself as to who exactly you're referring to. Likewise, in time also, you travel back and forth, especially with relevance to Khusro. So, would you think that this could confuse the readers, or they might feel tired, because of this going back and forth?
This is actually, that it's a style of writing, like I told you about. That means, if you see the novel, it has got three stories running in parallel in the beginning, or the three protagonists. So there's the story of Khusro, which is running in one direction, there's Nanda, which is running in parallel, and there's Rekha, which is running in parallel, and then there is the background, which is coming up in between. So I did not want it to be linear narration of the events or the characters' lives. So I have told it from a characters who are assembling in this particular place, and events which have happened in a way which I thought should whet the appetite of the readers to see as to where it is going, and to be more keen to know at what is going to happen next. So I believe that it is with that, from that perception, that I've done that.
And who is the protagonist in your book? Is there a protagonist? Did you get personally any inspiration from him or her?
Definitely, because one thing I do believe that in this book there is a let's say metamorphosis of most of the let's say three main protagonists, and some of them from the beginning of the novel to the end. There is a certain change which takes place, and I believe that is what the reader should carry with him or her. Some of the metamorphosis may not be to your liking, and all the events do not happen the way we want, and I have tried not to be, let's say, judgmental about the characters or what they have done, so that the characters are what they are, and the story has developed the way I feel it should develop, justifying the character and the kind of background that I've set up in. So to that extent, I feel okay. That is how it should have been.
And is there a villain in your book?
The times that we live in.
So the coverage of the hydroelectric project and all the technical details, they are quite exhaustive, and oftentimes they are exhausting also. So do you not think this would have been taxing to some of the readers?
In principle, I agree. Yes, it could have been, but I look at it like this, that I had a choice of let's say glossing over it and not getting into any of the details, which is what, let's say, many of the authors do, because then you don't need to have any domain knowledge. So the second way of doing it is that there are many readers whom I do know that who have, let's say, basic high school level science background, who will be more than happy to know how a particular domain events happen to a certain extent of detail. But I do agree, it may not suit all the readers, and it may not whet the appetite of all the readers. I have tried to strike a balance, which I think is fairly reasonable, but I leave it at that.
If you were one of the characters in the book, who would you like to be?
I guess my challenge in this whole thing is that since I have been there everywhere in the book and with all the characters and with all of them,
you identify.
I identify with all of them.
And what did you learn after writing this book, if anything?
Of course, that that one of the first things that you learn about writing, it's a humbling experience, because when you write so much and then you realize that possibly at the end of the writing there is so much more you don't know.
What is the take-home message of your book? Do you have any?
Oh, very much. That's there in the book, the dedication, what I say. That's why I said, take-home messages. There's no shelf life for dreams. There's no age limit for dreaming. So
there is no shelf life for dreams. There is no age limit for dreaming.
And I've dedicated this book with, because what I found is when you work in this project, there are 1,000 people, and you're very surprised that, even a small couple who have come from somewhere, maybe Jharkhand or Uttarakhand, somewhere who come there taking on a risky life. I say, why? Because people plan to work on this project, plan to work for 1 year. At the end of 1 year, we want to make 25,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees for a particular purpose. Each one, it's unbelievable the amount of many people get together. That maybe because it's this kind of job is not regular, it's in remote area, you're cut off from your people. It's got a fair amount of element of risk. And there is a fair amount of rewards at every level for the risks that you take. So there is, the dreams is very much part of this kind of life. Everyone has come with, you may call it a small target, small ambition in your own way, but to him that is his dream. He has come to this project to work it out, sweat it out, make something happen for himself, his family, his friends, his relatives, somebody. So I guess when you see it so much, I guess that is what made me dedicate this book also to those people who strive to realize their dreams.
And even though you're there for a short time, you are almost like a family, and then you come back with all those vivid memories and colors and experiences that enrich your life forever.
True, very true.
So what are your future plans? Do you plan to continue writing? Have you started on any other project already?
Plan to continue writing? The answer is yes. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. And how would you like your readers to contact you, get in touch with you through email?
They could contact me on email. I have a website for this where they could see what is happening on, they could contact me there. Any of these is okay.
Well, it's been wonderful speaking with you, and from on behalf of the book club of the Nilgiris Library, I wish you all the very best in all your future projects.
You just heard the author of Men and Dreams of Daladar, Kocheri C. Shibu, speaking to Dr. Geeta Jayaraman on Talk Time. Meet you again next Tuesday at 9:15 on Talk Time with another exclusive interview. Good night.